and welcome to the Postpartum Years podcast. I am your host, Dr. Ellen Kramp. I am a physical therapist and a pelvic health specialist. Today, what I want to do is to talk to moms. I want to talk to the people who have been through this and talk about their personal experiences. So today, joining me is Leah Hunt, and she has had many experiences. So I want to touch on some of these experiences that she's had. So, welcome, Leah.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. All right, Leah. So, I know that you had struggled with diastasis
hmm
after more than one delivery. And
hmm
so, tell me about how that was. I only met you after the second. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, there wasn't a lot of talk about diastasis, I think, around my first. I feel like that's more and more like a conversation with people. Because when I
yeah.
had my firstborn, he's now 9. So it was 9 years ago, and I wasn't, educated at all. I had a C-section with him, and I remember after I had him trying to like lay on my stomach. It was like around Christmas time. I had him in October, and it was so uncomfortable. I was like, "That's strange. Like maybe it's from the C-section. Just maybe scar tissue, whatever." And I just remember it just always feeling uncomfortable to like lay on my stomach after I had my first baby. But then after my second born, she's 6 now, then I was getting more educated on, on the diastases, on the separation of the abs. And I was like, I feel like I've lost so much core strength. I can't, sit up and like use those muscles. They just don't even work anymore. So that's when, I got to know you, and you helped me with that problem a lot. So, and Esme was, my second born was a C-section also. So 2 C-sections in, and yeah, I was struggling in that area. So, and you worked your magic, and I've never met anyone who's done.
Yeah. Yeah. That um that was pretty interesting because that one I was able to work on where you had restrictions and your abdominal muscles went right back together.
I
And
know,
so and then you were
and
able
it
to
felt different. Like I walked out of your office, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel different. I feel like I'm holding myself different, and it was it was awesome. Like I felt supported again, So yeah,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when those abdominal muscles are actually together how much stronger you feel.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was really cool.
because after my third,
Uh-huh. Different
my
story.
wonderful doctor moved away on me, but I did end up getting a tummy tuck. Maybe a year and a half after I had Story, and they did, they sewed my ab wall together because I was having chronic back pain. I couldn't drive, and I couldn't like
Yeah.
it was. I made Jonathan sell my car. That was like it's uncomfortable, but it was because I had no core strength. After the third kid, it was just it tore him apart again, and so the ab repair was life changing. I haven't had a day
Yeah.
of back pain since. So.
Yeah. All right. So when I saw you after the first, or actually the second child, and this was a couple years later that I saw you after Esme was
Mhm.
born. Um, if I remember, right, it was your upper abs that were separated. Was it your upper or was it the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay. But that came
Yeah.
back together. After you had your third, that was a different story because
Yeah.
story.
That's the that's the name of my kid's story.
But with that one, it seemed like there was damage in that connective tissue in between, and so
Mhm.
things could not close. So
And that's what
that's
my
why that
surgeon.
was ended up being a surgical issue. So that was
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting how we had the difference between what I could do from a PT standpoint when things weren't as physically damaged, it just needed to
Right.
kind of be reset versus when it was a surgical issue and like nothing I did could fix that because my
Yeah.
magic wand is not calibrated to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even my surgeon said at that point, just trying to like put all my organs into the tissue, it was just so squishy and stretched out. My third born was 9'2", and I'm only 4'11". So my abs were just done. They were shot. I mean, they couldn't bounce back the way they did after Esme. Like it was like the same kind of experience after I had Esme and you worked on me. I felt that strength back, and then after my third born, it just wasn't bouncing back. And the ab repair, I mean, again, if women are, struggling with chronic back pain, I feel like it should be
Yeah,
something their PTs need to be talking about. And like, tummy tucks are kind of looked down on generally because it's a cosmetic thing. But I mean, if you're at that point where you need the ab repair, it can change your life.
right.
So,
And the thing is, especially if there's a hernia involved, it doesn't have to
yeah.
be through the plastic surgeon ab repair kind of thing.
Hmm.
Because
Right.
if you're not looking to have the skin done as well, you can go to a hernia specialist
Right.
and they can do that repair the hernias, repair the abdominal muscles, and then the back is no longer an issue and yada
Yeah.
yada yada. So that kind of stuff, yeah, can make a huge difference for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the other issues you had. I remember you having issues with mastitis.
Yes, I did. I feel like I, at some points during the journey, I felt like I was the only one because I had nursing friends who never had any problem with that. And I was partially paranoid because I'd have plugged ducts that would hurt and I'd get a fever and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's mastitis. But there was one time that I got up and I decided to dye my hair that morning and I was feeling great and I was dyeing my hair and all of a sudden I started to feel achy like in my breast and I was trying to find a lump. I'm like, maybe I've got a plugged duct and I couldn't find a lump and it was aching. And then I was like, I don't feel right. I think I have a little fever. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this is happening. So I called you up. I'm like, how quickly can you get mastitis? Because I think I'm like heading in that direction. And you're like, I'm going to come over and take a look. And I mean, by the time you got here, I had 104 fever and I was beside myself. And that I was pretty scarred by that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. And I've suppressed all these memories, Mary Ellen. So I'm dragging them all up for you today. But after that, I was paranoid. Anytime I had any ache or pain, I was just like, oh my gosh, here we go. Because it took time, even with antibiotics, to feel better. I mean, it was
Hmm.
I I remember laying on my bed telling my husband, I would rather have the stomach flu than this. Like I just felt so bad. And um, you know, before that I'd only really had, the plug ducts where it was like there was a specific spot that was sore.
Yep.
And that's hard and scary enough, like, and I'd try to work them out. And but like when I had full blown mastitis, where I remember being so like taken aback that there wasn't just a specific spot, because my experience had always been plugged ducts and
Hmm.
mastitis. And that, I mean, at that point, there wasn't a spot. It was the entire breast was on fire. And, my fever shot up within just a couple hours.
You were really sick by the time I got to you. You were
I
really
know it
sick.
was just a
And
couple hours.
and I mean, at the time I only lived like a mile and a half from you.
Yeah, I know. You're like, I'm coming over. I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
And then by
Yeah.
the time you got there, I was crying, and you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you are so sick." I'm like, I didn't wake up with a fever. I was fine. I don't know how this happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that type of mastitis is pretty rare to get
Okay.
like that sudden onset, full
Yes.
blown, to have like the plug duct and it's not going away and you're struggling and it's taking days and it gradually kind of simmers and bubbles up
Yes.
and then goes from just inflammation to full infection. That's
Hmm.
that's much more typical. And we were able to knock down a lot of those little plug ducts that you had been dealing with. And the thing that I found interesting was uh, when you discovered, oh, you have oversupply, and you're drowning your baby, and so she's using her tongue to block off milk ducts, and that's why you were
Yeah.
getting plugged ducts. Was she figured out how to latch on and block things off, and so you were getting these chronic plugged ducts at the time.
You know what's funny? When you texted me and said you wanted to talk about this stuff, I was like, "Oh, I've suppressed these memories. I won't remember. It's only been a couple of years, but still, I'm like, I was thinking about it, and I told my husband, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this podcast. We're going to talk about oversupply, and he's like, oh, that was you, and I was like, oh, it was not me, and he's like, Leah, you
Yeah,
have
it
so
was.
much. What are you talking? And I still, to this day, don't see myself that way. But after I think through it, I'm like, yeah, I did. I totally did. Of course, and I know this, but like I think I had such a traumatic experience with my firstborn who didn't latch, who couldn't latch for like the first month. I just always saw myself as someone who had undersupply. And so,
Which most women think so because you can't tell how much you're feeding the baby.
yes, it is, it's hard to trust the process. It really is. I mean, with my firstborn, I really wanted to breastfeed, and I thought he latched like when he was first. How would I know what a latch feels like? I was like, oh, he's nursing, we're good. And he, through that first week, lost 1.5 pounds. And I remember a lactation specialist coming to my house, and she's like, we need to get your baby fed. I'm like, but he's eating, isn't he? And she's like, he's not latching. And I'm like, how do you know that? She's like, because he lost a
He's
pound
lost
and
a
a
pound
half.
and a half.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I starved my baby. I was so traumatized.
And then the guilt, yes.
Oh, horrible. I mean, horrible guilt. And it took a whole month to get him to latch. I mean, I would sit up and pump in the night. My husband would give the bottles to the baby. And I mean, because she's like, you can't do it. He does it. We had this whole plan. We used a nipple shield, this and that. When he finally did latch, I was just so happy. But what ended up happening was he was used to the bottle, which was an immediate gratification process.
Yep.
And my
Yep. And
letdown
I
was
didn't want to.
slow.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he would just start losing it first thing as soon as I put him on. I mean, if it was suck, and no milk, I mean, he would start screaming, and so that was like my first experience. So in my mind, I'm like, I need to have a lot of milk. I need to get this, I need to have all this production, and thankfully, my second born was a wonderful nurser. I mean, like she did great. And but I still felt the need to have the pump and this and that. And my husband's like, why? Why do you need to have all this? Like, I'm like, because I need to make sure I have enough milk. And he's like, and usually what would end up happening is I would just pump it, freeze it, and then it would just sit there. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, we have to use it now. Like it's gonna expire. So yeah, trusting the process. I mean, it's hard, but
It
the
is.
they will get enough. And most of the time us women have more than we think we have.
Right.
That's
Right.
been the experience.
As long as your baby isn't losing weight constantly.
No, yes, exactly. Yes, if they're losing weight, but if they are, you're not alone. That happens, this especially first time mommies. Like we don't know, but I wish someone had told me to pay attention to that in the beginning. I didn't realize that was so important. Like that's how you know. That's how you know if they're getting milk. That
Hmm.
you watch their weight. I mean, my second born had she didn't have developed lungs when she had her planned C-section, and she had to be transferred to another hospital. And 3 days later, I was able to join her because I was a C-section, and I was really concerned that she wouldn't be a good nurser, and they had to give her bottles while we were separated. And I remember showing up there and nursing the baby, and there was a young nurse who didn't. It was like one of her first shifts, and she's like, "Do you think she got enough?" I'm like, I don't know. I think so. She's like, I mean, did you nurse for 20 minutes or something like that? And I was like, I don't I don't think so. And she's like, well, then we're gonna give her a bottle. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they gave her a bottle of my pumped milk just to make sure. Well, I was like, I was so tired, and I wanted to just go to bed. I wanted to stay the night with her that night. And they told me they were going to transfer me to a different room. And I was like, oh. So we trudged up the stairs to the other room, and I had this other nurse who was wonderful. And she's like, why did they give her a bottle after you nursed? And I was like, I don't know. She didn't trust that I gave her enough. And she's like, let's weigh her. Well, she gained 6 ounces after I nursed her, and she kept it. She never lost it. And it just kept getting, she just kept gaining weight. And so she's like, you're fine. So that was an awesome experience after my firstborn. I'm like, wow, see, it works. It does work. You can weigh them. You can see, like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'd need like a consistent scale, a really
Yeah,
high quality consistent scale. You would
that's
need
true.
to weigh the baby like, you know, before and after naked. So, you're
Yeah,
not
I mean,
having
I always had
different,
the lactation consultant on her scale. That was just,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't use your home scale. That won't work.
Yeah. They usually have, like down to the hundredth of an ounce or the thousandth of an
Yes,
ounce
it's amazing.
versus, yeah, like it's an ounce. Like, yeah, that's not good enough.
Yeah,
You
that's
want
true.
precision for something like that. And yeah, the consistent scale. So a lactation consultant coming to your home with the same scale every time,
That's
doing
right.
before and after. So you're getting those consistent weights every time. So you know
Yes,
exactly what has transpired.
yes.
All right, let's see. Oh, yes. And then I also remember your youngest weaning very abruptly.
She did. So my youngest, she's typical third born. And I think that she just was watching everything that was happening around her. We were at Universal and she was 9 months and like a week maybe. And she was nursing 5 times a day, but she was also my baby that just loved food. Like she just loved food. I mean, I think Jonathan let her suck on like steak bones as like an infant, and by 3 months she wanted the food off our plate, and we're like, I mean, by this point we're three kids in, and we're like, just give it to her,
Yeah.
like much
Third
much.
child, sure.
My doula was scandalized. She came over. She's like, she is too young. And I'm like, okay, you hold her. And I remember Story trying to grab the food off her plate. And I'm like, okay, I am not the one like forcing this. She just likes food. So,
Hmm.
so she was eating a lot, because she just really did like food. And she started so young eating food. But I remember I was still nursing her 5 times a day, and we were at Universal, and we, had all day in the park, and we went out to dinner, and she fell asleep, and I was like, oh, I didn't nurse her before bed. I'm gonna get like mastitis. I'm scared of that. And Jonathan's like, don't wake her up. Just she's sleeping. Just put her to bed. And so we went to bed, and she woke up in the middle of the night screaming. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's thirsty. And so I grabbed her and I tried to nurse her, and she would not take it. She's pushing me away. She's screaming at me, and I'm like, I'm trying to wake up Jonathan. Like, she won't nurse. She won't nurse. I mean, I tried and tried and tried and tried, and she would not take it. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with her. Maybe is she sick? Like, she finally settled down without nursing, and I put her back in her little crib. And the next morning when she woke up, I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, I am going to explode. She needs to nurse. So I get her, and she nursed one side, and then she refused the other side and never nursed again. And I was not emotionally prepared for it. I had not even, it wasn't on my radar at all that we were almost done. We were still doing it 5 times a day. And I was beside myself. It was like it was an emotional trauma. I'm like, no, we're not done. We're like, and I didn't even think of that. I just thought she was in a mood, And I remember my husband looking at me, okay, my husband, he would make me nurse that baby as long as she wanted it. I mean, he wouldn't make me, but he would beg me. He just believed in it so much. And he's like, they need it. And she wants it. And anyway, that morning when she only nursed the one side, wouldn't nurse the other, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with her. He looked at me, he's like, she's done. And I'm like, what do you mean she's done? He's like, she's done nursing. I'm like, oh, she is not done nursing. She is 9 months old. Okay. The pediatrician is going to make me do something with her until she's 12 months. And he's like, she's done, Leah. And I'm like, oh, she's not done. And I'm like, you need to go buy me a pump, okay? Because I need some relief. So he went and bought a pump for me. And I've offered her the boob at least 5 times a day, probably for 2 weeks. And she she wanted nothing to do with it. I think she just like was watching all these kids eating together, and I would take her off to nurse her, and she's like, why am I different? I don't want this anymore, and I'm done. And so, it was fine. I mean, she drank water and ate food. Yeah, I mean, that was the third born. So
Yeah, and she was freakishly advanced from the get-go.
she was
I
and
remember that.
everything.
I remember her smiling, like really staring into my eyes and smiling, and I don't even think she was 2 weeks old yet.
No,
Like
I know.
it was just the weirdest thing that she was so engaged, and
Yeah,
it wasn't just oh, I'm just learning how to use my face. It was like, hey.
I know. Exactly. She was. I mean, she was pulling herself up to standing at like 6 months. And remember I sent you that video and she wasn't quite a year yet and she was doing my rock wall,
Mhm.
you know? I mean, like she was really something, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, go girl.
Yeah,
I mean, she
she's had a very strong mind from
yes.
the day she emerged.
So she was born during a hurricane, you know. I was trying for a VBAC with her because I had two C-sections and I didn't want another one. And after Esme, you know, her lungs weren't quite right, and I was scared to like just plan a C-section and take that baby when you know, when we wanted to just take her. And I was like, I'm gonna wait till she's ready. And so, but it was during, of course, during a hurricane that, you know, she came, and then they kicked out my doula, they kicked out my mom, and they kicked out half the staff left the hospital, and me and Jonathan were just there. And I mean, after 42 hours of labor, we're like, all right, well, she's ready, so let's just do a C-section. So I mean, it wasn't quite like that. Her heart rate was dropping, and they were like, oh my gosh, would you just do a C-section? I'm like, okay, we'll do it, it's fine. So
Yeah, and I know, I mean, for the abrupt weaning, I know you ended up working with Kat on kind of pumping slowly um,
yeah.
to kind of go through the process, well, a little less naturally than is common,
Yeah. Well,
but
and especially for someone like me who had a lot of mastitis and plugged ducts, and I was scared of that uncomfortable feeling. You kind of have to go through it when, you know, after your baby stops, you just kind of have to be okay with feeling uncomfortable, because if you keep pumping when you feel
the more you
uncomfortable, you'll
pump,
just
yep,
keep your supply up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you have
So,
to kind of, walk that edge
yeah,
between pumping enough so you don't end
that's
up with
right.
mastitis yet,
Yeah.
not continuing the process so you're still producing lots of milk.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little scary, you know, but I mean, it went better than I expected it to. And maybe that's just my blurred, suppressed memory.
No,
I don't
no, it
know.
did. It did. You
I
were
thought it
you were
did.
you were scared. You
I was
were
scared.
very scared.
Yeah.
Um, but it did go smoothly
Yeah.
um,
Like I don't
once you
think I
worked with
had
Kat.
yeah, I didn't have any plug ducts. I didn't have any issues as we weaned, but it was scary and uncomfortable and, you know, emotionally sad because I didn't know the last time I nursed her was the last time I nursed her, you know. So, but that's okay. If
Yeah.
she did me a favor, because otherwise I might still be nursing. Like her little bestie across the street, I think still nurses. So think about that. I think 3 years old. I mean, you know, so it's fine. She did me a favor. I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Are there any other issues that you can think of that you had postpartum that you want to talk about?
Oh man, I mean, we covered like the diastasis and the back pain. You know, knowing that there's a connection there. I wish more women knew that. Um, I mean, finding help is hard for that problem because, you know, there's not very many of you. I think there's two of you, right? You and one other lady that you know. That's it. No, I mean, so, you know, but finding someone who can help, you know, with that issue is, you know, that's great. And then yeah, I mean, the mastitis, I mean, I don't think a lot of women have that problem like I had it, but I mean, some of us do just
There
struggle
are a lot.
with
There
that.
are a lot.
Are there? Okay, well, in my small world, I'm like, I'm the only one.
I mean,
So,
you hadn't told me that I remember about the undersupply with, or the
Charlie,
difficulties feeding Charlie. Charlie, I remember you
yeah,
telling me he had a tongue tie, right?
he did have a tongue tie. We lasered it. And a week after that, maybe it was 2 weeks after that, he finally did latch. But his frustration with letdown the whole time, I mean, he nursed until I think 10 and a half months, 11 months. And he just had so much frustration every time I'd sit down to nurse him, because it was like, suck, suck, oh, there's nothing. And he just like scream. And it created a lot of anxiety for me. Like, and so, I remember walking into the hospital after I had Esme and she was transferred, and I had to go see if she would nurse. Like, she had been intubated, all this stuff. So it was time to try the nursing. I remember like really feeling afraid that it would be a repeat of Charlie, and I remember when she sat and latched and nursed, I couldn't believe it. It was the best feeling. So, especially seeing the 6 ounces. She gave 6 ounces. That's right.
Oh, that's
So,
great. That's great. I mean, 3 different kids, 3 vastly different
yeah.
stories,
Hmm.
which,
Yeah.
you know, people who've only had one just don't believe that the next one is going to be completely different and the next one's going to
Yeah.
be even more different.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have different personalities. Like, look at my third born, just deciding she's done it 9 months. I mean, technically that's too young. But I mean, according to, I was just thinking at that time, if it was 100 years ago, people would just be like, okay, well, she's done, because in our minds, we're like, we have to go to 12 months with something, formula or breast milk or what, but for her, she just wouldn't take the formula. She didn't want the breast milk. She just wanted food and water. And so, you know, there's nothing I could do about that.
Yeah, she kind of came into the world like 6 months old,
Yeah,
or 3,000 years old, however you want to put it. This is just, she's an
so true.
an
She
old
is.
soul that came in
Yep.
like ready.
Yep. That's true.
All righty. Any other wisdom you want to impart on other moms?
I mean, no, I should have thought of something. I guess beforehand.
Well, you've imparted a lot. I'm just looking for a summary.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, you just do the best you can and try not to
Yeah.
have too much guilt. I mean, like I
Oh, no
remember
kidding.
struggling with the guilt of a pound and a half for Charlie. And, you know, we're all just going along doing the best we can. And they'll all be fine. So they'll make it through. I mean, some women have no problems with nursing and some have a lot, like I had. And,
Hmm.
and like you said, it could be, the kids could be different, every time could be different. And, if you really had a bad experience, don't keep that from, don't let that keep you from trying again. Because you might have a wonderful experience like I had the second time with my second born. It was like I never had any problems with her. It was just smooth sailing. So you just have to try every time to do the best thing you can do, and that's all you can do.
Yep. Well put. Well put. All righty. Well, thank you for sharing all of those stories, Leah. I think a lot of people are going to learn quite a bit from them.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, well,
so
thanks
thank
thanks for
you.
having me.
Sure. And we'll see you next time on the Postpartum Years podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.